doesn't matter if it's black or it's white or lost and knowing that you doing it right. I'm about it, your body. So I'm about it, your body. So I'm about it, your body. Everyone knows that consuming brainrot content is bad. Marketing puts you in a situation where you buy things that you don't need, and that politicians are putting up a show instead of articulating reasonable arguments. Why? Because that's what you want, and they give you what you want. It is easier to get emotional and overly invested in hateful titles that only drain your emotional energy. It is hard to stop and think, wait a minute, this is just clickbait that shouts slurs at celebrities without any real meaning behind it. It is easy to look at a commercial and get hooked on flashy lights, music, and discount to the point that you think, I will save so much money even though you are literally spending it when you buy a product. And it is more fun to hear a politician roast another politician than hearing how he would fix every problem in the country.
You've called women you don't like fat pig Twitter account.
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
So the people feed what you want. Entertainment. I'm not saying that we constantly have to watch over our shoulder and that entertainment is bad. I like it too. What I'm saying is that it is a problem to complain about problems which you created. Everyone knows Plato's allegory, but no one stops and thinks, hey, maybe I am that prisoner that would stab the person who would claim that the shadows on the walls are not the truth, but that the truth is out there, out of the cave. Because it is uncomfortable to go out of the cave and see the blinding reality. It is easier when someone else feeds the truth down your throat and gives you something pleasant. But how do we fix this situation where people just stop to think with their own heads and just endlessly consume? Can we fix it? Well, Hannah Arendt writes about Eichmann, a man that was basically responsible for the Holocaust. Many people would think that the man who was responsible for a Holocaust was probably an inhumane monster, because how could you commit those crimes without being such a beast, you know? But Hannah Arendt argued that that wasn't what she saw. He was actually very humane, to the point that it was a little scary. And the problem wasn't his morality, but the fact that he was just a normal person that stopped to think. And he just thought in cliches, you know? There's a whole deeper story, but let's leave it later. And it's true, most evil happens because people just stop to think. And today's problems would be fixed if everyone just started using their brains and didn't click on the clickbait titles, so they wouldn't promote hateful content that doesn't provide anything meaningful. People would live more modest and think, hey, maybe I don't need that third TV on my wall, you know, even though it is at a good price. And finally, they would say, hey, that is not cool to shout slurs at other politicians. Use airtime to actually make some arguments how you will fix our country. If I was a interviewer, that is how I would ask a question. Obviously, that is not the world we live in. We don't get time to think. People have jobs, families, and that takes up all their time. But the time that they have for thinking about their own lives, their own actions, the state of the world is taken up by useless entertainment, Even 30 minutes a day, if they sat down and were like, you know, I could really use some more fitness in my life. Bang, a more healthier person. And understand, entertainment is really hard to gaze your eyes off of, but all of this doesn't give you any rights to be a hypocrite, to complain about matters that you yourself created. Oh, people are so dumb, but you yourself consume endless content that dulls your brain. Oh, companies are so greedy, they want to buy all the world, when you yourself buy things you don't need. And then you're like, politicians, they just are so, they're making so many mistakes. But that's the politician you yourself elected. and because you got caught up in his rhetoric. Honestly, this matter doesn't concern me because I am okay with living my life right now. But I know this in the future will change, and it might change, it might not change, I don't know. So I have to speak on these matters, so maybe it inspires someone to fix something up before it comes to me. Of course, I just have to yap, because otherwise it just wastes thoughts that were internalized, and I guess it is kind of in my blood. I can't help it. So maybe those people that make the world problems are just being themselves, and people are using their disadvantages that their door to their advantages. Just had a stroke, a minor stroke. But then again, they shouldn't be complaining. So this is the bottom line. See ya.